Welcome to the MC3 Executive Podcast. In this episode, we're exploring the MC3 One-Page Reference Library. Every high-performing organization relies on simple reference points that help leaders maintain clarity when pressure rises and complexity increases. Pilots use checklists. Engineers use diagrams. Surgeons use protocols. And leaders need practical tools that help them stay aligned when emotional and operational demands begin competing for attention. The purpose of the MC3 One-Page Reference Library is to provide those tools. These reference pages are not designed to replace judgment. They are designed to support it. They act as emotional shortcuts that help leaders recalibrate quickly when tone shifts, urgency increases, escalation becomes necessary, or behavioral drift begins to emerge. The library takes the core principles of the MC3 method and distills them into simple visual references that can be understood in seconds. In high-pressure situations, leaders rarely have time to revisit a chapter, review a framework, or analyze a complex model. They need clarity immediately. They need a quick reminder of what matters most before communicating with others. That is where the one-page library becomes valuable. One executive described it as an emotional defibrillator, small, simple, and capable of resetting the system when pressure begins to distort judgment. Most communication problems do not occur when leaders are calm and reflective. They occur when pressure compresses thinking, urgency narrows perspective, stress amplifies tone, and ambiguity encourages assumptions. These are precisely the moments when alignment becomes vulnerable. The one-page library acts as a counterbalance. It reminds leaders of the emotional principles that support clarity and coherence. Before a difficult conversation, a leader can review a reference page and regain perspective. Before escalating an issue, they can revisit the principles of safe escalation. Before communicating urgency, they can check whether the emotional message matches the operational need. The goal is not information. The goal is orientation. Each page captures an entire leadership concept in a format that can be absorbed quickly. A tone reference page reminds leaders how emotional temperature influences organizational behavior. An urgency page highlights the relationship between speed, clarity, and anxiety. A drift page identifies the subtle signals that appear before misalignment becomes visible. An escalation page helps distinguish between uncertainty, risk, and genuine crisis. An alignment map provides a visual reminder of how meaning travels across teams, regions, and cultures. These pages do not attempt to explain everything. Instead, they focus attention on what matters most. That simplicity is intentional. Complex tools often fail when situations become complex. Simple tools remain useful precisely when leaders need them most. Over time, many leaders discover that the library becomes part of their daily routine. Before a high-stakes meeting, they review the tone page. Before a global announcement, they revisit the clarity framework. Before addressing a sensitive issue, they check the escalation principles. When they sense behavioral drift, they consult the drift reference. What begins as a collection of tools gradually becomes a set of leadership rituals that help maintain consistency under pressure. One senior executive described the effect perfectly when he said, "These pages make me a better version of myself when everything around me is moving too fast." That observation highlights an important truth. The value of the library lies in the quality of leadership it helps create. When leaders communicate from a place of emotional stability, organizations respond differently. People feel safer. Interpretations become more consistent. Misunderstandings decrease. Urgency becomes clearer. And uncertainty becomes easier to manage. The organization begins operating with greater confidence because the emotional signals coming from leadership are more predictable. This creates something often overlooked in discussions about performance: emotional security. When leaders are calm, clear, and consistent, teams stop wasting energy trying to interpret hidden meaning. They focus on action rather than assumption, collaborate more effectively, and respond with greater confidence during periods of uncertainty. The one-page library may appear small, but its impact reaches far beyond the pages themselves. It becomes a stabilizing presence throughout the organization. This is why the library matters. The emotional architecture of an organization is not maintained by strategy alone. It is maintained through hundreds of small acts of clarity that occur every day. A well-calibrated message. A thoughtful escalation. A clear interpretation check. A timely tone reset. Over time, these behaviors create coherence. The one-page library helps leaders maintain those behaviors consistently, even when circumstances become difficult. It transforms clarity into something visible, accessible, and repeatable. It ensures that emotional maturity is not dependent on memory, mood, or personality, but becomes part of organizational design. Perhaps most importantly, the library reminds leaders that alignment is not created through pressure, force, or intensity. It is created through clarity, through steadiness, through emotional discipline. Consider a simple example. A leader faces an urgent situation and reaches for the urgency calibration page. The reminder is straightforward. Fast decisions. Steady execution. Signal constraints early. Do not accelerate activity without clarity. The script reads: urgent means visibility and early alignment, not rush. A simple sentence, yet one capable of preventing confusion, anxiety, and unnecessary escalation. That is the power of the one-page reference library. Simple tools that support clearer leadership and stronger alignment when it matters most. This week, consider the reference points you rely on when pressure increases. Do they help create clarity or simply create more information? Because in moments of complexity, leaders do not need more data. They need better orientation. And that is exactly what the MC3 One-Page Reference Library was designed to provide. Thank you for listening to the MC3 Executive Podcast.